All right, you guys, so this is search exercise 2, question number 4. How many Bakersfield, California charitable organizations had their federal tax exemptions revoked in April of 2016? So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is where you're going to think about finding, where you would have found the database that you needed to use for this question. So that's actually part of our textbook, Find It Now. It's actually in this chapter 5, Doing Good, Searching Well. The first database that they talk about is Charity Navigator. And Charity Navigator is just kind of this sort of organization that gives you ratings and information about different kinds of really good charities, and sort of gives you scores and different kinds of ratings for different charities that are sort of eligible for tax exempt status. But you have to have been a charity with a sort of continuous tax exemption status for 7 years in order to get a rating. And so in some sense, it's not completely comprehensive, although it's a really good resource. Since the question is actually about having their federal tax exemptions revoked at a certain date, we're actually not going to be using Charity Navigator. But if you scroll down and you're reading carefully in the readings, you discover that there's actually another thing that you can do. So she says, you'll need to look elsewhere for newbies and checking with the Internal Revenue Service to see whether donations to a new organization we've heard of will be deductible, right? Okay, so she gives you this tool here. Go to the IRS Exempt Organizations Select Check database. So when I was going through this, the first thing that I did was open up a new window, and I just typed in this link right here into the database, or into the URL, right? So I entered it in there. What I got actually was an error. This is actually pretty common, simply because you have different kinds of stuff moving. So the error that I got was forbidden 403 arrow page, as you'll see here. Now, how did I land on this page, right? So this is actually the new tax exempt organization search, formerly select checked. What I did there actually was, there are two different ways you can do it. You can Google things like that. What I ended up doing actually was just going back to this link, and I just deleted the last part of it. So I did charities and nonprofits. And when it took me to that page, it did actually land at a page there, and then I was able to click through and find their new tax exempt organization search. It was just one of these kinds of, right? So it's just on the side here as one of the little navigation things. This is really important because given the way that information updates and how quickly things change in a digital environment, one of the things that you need to get comfortable with is just sort of thinking about the fact that these resources will sort of change slightly, and you just kind of have to get comfortable sort of figuring out, okay, well, there probably still is this tool, I just have to figure out where it is. So playing around with different kinds of things in the URL is really helpful. You can always sort of Google, here what you could have done would be to Google select check, tax exempt organization select check, and it would have immediately taken you to this link as well. So there are a lot of different kinds of things that you can do when things don't necessarily work the way that you want them to, and it's really important that you don't just stop when it doesn't work out the way that you want to. I mean, one of the, I think, the sort of overarching themes of this class is that you have to keep clicking. It's not, or this information isn't organized like Google, where they're trying to make it as easy for you as possible. Instead, the idea is that the information is there, but you have to be doing sort of a lot of grunt work and just a lot of leaning in and sort of pushing forward to sort of get through and find it. Okay, so once you've gotten to this page, you can click here, and it's just apps.irs.gov. This is the new tax exempt organization search. So I thought I'd share a little bit of a fun sort of anecdote about how this kind of stuff can go wrong when I was first searching for this information. Or at least I originally did the search, and then I was coming down to sort of record the screen cap. And what I did there was I just copied Bakersfield from this Google Doc that I use to create stuff, and then I pasted it into the city. What I didn't realize is that what I'd accidentally done is had an extra space between the, in front of the B in Bakersfield. And so when I did that, it was searching for actually a space in front of Bakersfield, and nothing came up. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I know it's there. I found it, right? And so I couldn't figure out what was going on. So one of the things that I think is sort of interesting about that anecdote, and I share it because you always want to make sort of like, I would tell students, oh, well, don't copy and paste. But I do it too. It's just fast and easy, and you kind of get into these kinds of rhythms. But if you're having a problem or something like that is going on, it's really good to sort of stop and think about where the errors could have been. And it might not be an error in your search, but actually something silly just in terms of like, oh, well, I copied and pasted. Okay, so here we are. We're in this tax exempt organization search. I'm going to enter the city Bakersfield. Make sure I spell it right. Bakersfield. It's California. And right now I'm just going to search all and see what happens, because remember, I kind of want to start broad and just sort of see what's going on here, because I'm just kind of playing around with stuff. All right, so this is a lot. I got 1 to 25 of 2,250. These are all sorts of charitable organizations that are located in Bakersfield, California. But I'm interested in something pretty specific. I want to know what charities had their exempt status revoked. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with like different kinds of data sets. So I'm going to go in here, just this search all, and lo and behold, there is the auto revocation list. So I'll click on that. And when I click on that, actually, I get a little date field. Limit search to organizations whose tax exempt status was automatically revoked between. So I'm going to click here. August 2018. That's obviously not where we want to be. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to April 2018. April 1st. And then rather than clicking through, I'll just change that. There we go. I'm going to go back to April 30th. Now this is 2018, but I can just do that. And there we go. Changing it. I'm going to click on here. Okay, all exemption types. I'm not really concerned with anything more specific. I hit search. Oh, you know what? It didn't do Bakersfield anymore, so now I have to enter that back in. This happens. Sometimes it deletes all of your other stuff. Bakersfield, but not state. So you see it'll like make you do all these things over and over again. You hit search, and lo and behold, there are 9 results of different charitable organizations that had their tax-exempt status revoked between April, like in the month of April of 2016. So there you go. That is how you find the answer to this question.